Imagine for a moment that you are standing in a humid, fern-cluttered forest in what will eventually become Montana, exactly 66 million years ago. The air is thick, the heat is oppressive, and the sound of buzzing insects is loud enough to vibrate in your teeth. You're looking at a mound of dirt and rotting vegetation. It doesn't look like much, but inside, a miracle of biological engineering is about to unfold. This is the start of the most terrifying, most successful, and most misunderstood life story in the history of our planet. We are talking about Tyrannosaurus Rex, but not the hulking movie monster you think you know. We're talking about a creature that started as a fluffy, fragile ball of feathers and grew into a multi-ton biological tank. This is the biography of the king. It all begins in a nest. Contrary to popular belief, T-Rex mothers didn't just drop their eggs and leave. These were likely attentive parents. A mother, T-Rex, weighing as much as an elephant, would have carefully guarded a clutch of about 20 eggs, each the size of a large loaf of bread. When the shell finally cracks, out pops something that would look more at home in a petting zoo than a horror movie. A hatchling T-Rex was about the size of a turkey, covered in a thick coat of fuzzy, downy feathers for warmth. It had long, gangly legs and a snout that looked far too big for its head. At this stage, the future king of the world was basically a snack for almost everything else in the Cretaceous. Survival was a game of numbers. Out of 20 siblings, perhaps only 1 or 2 would make it to their first birthday. Life for a baby Rex was a frantic, high-speed chase. They didn't have the bone-crushing power of their parents yet, so they played a different game. While the adults were slow-moving juggernauts, the juveniles were the Ferraris of the dinosaur world. Their legs were proportionally much longer than an adult's, designed for pure sprinting. They weren't hunting triceratops, or chasing down lizards, small mammals, and insects. This is where the story gets controversial. For decades, scientists found fossils of smaller, sleek tyrannosaurs and thought they were a different species called Nanotyrannus. But recent bone analysis has shown us the truth. There was no Nanotyrannus. It was just the T-Rex's awkward teenage phase. Imagine being so different as a teenager that people 60 million years later don't even recognize you as the same species. That's a level of puberty blues none of us can relate to. As our Rex hits age 10, the teenage terror phase truly begins. This is the most dramatic growth spurt in the history of terrestrial life. Between the ages of 14 and 18, a T-Rex would put on about 5 pounds of pure muscle and bone every single day. That is nearly 2 tons of weight added in just a few years. During this time, their biology underwent a total transformation. The skull deepened, the snout thickened, and those needle-like teeth began to transform into serrated, lethal bananas. Their ecological niche shifted. They went from being the neighborhood speedsters to the neighborhood bullies. They started taking on larger prey, moving from lizards to hadrosaurs. This was a dangerous time. You find many juvenile T-Rex fossils with healed bite marks on their faces, usually from other T-Rexes. This tells us 2 things. They were social enough to interact, and they were mean enough to bite each other's faces off over a meal. By age 20, the T-Rex has reached its prime. It is now an absolute unit. We are talking about a creature 40 feet long and weighing up to 9 tons. To put that in perspective, that's heavier than a school bus. But it isn't just about size. It's about the hardware. The T-Rex possessed the most powerful bite force of any terrestrial animal that has ever lived. We are talking about 12,000 pounds of pressure. To give you a mental image, that's like having a medium-sized car dropped on your chest, but concentrated into the tips of a few dozen teeth. These teeth weren't just for cutting meat, they were for shattering bone. Most predators avoid bone because it can break their teeth, but the T-Rex welcomed it. It would swallow chunks of bone to get to the marrow, turning its prey into a pulverized slurry of protein. But let's address the elephant in the room more, rather. The tiny arms in the room. For 100 years, the T-Rex's arms have been the punchline of every dinosaur joke. They look ridiculous. You can't reach the mouth, and they certainly can't be used for clapping. However, if you look at the muscle attachments on a T-Rex arm bone, they were incredibly strong, capable of lifting hundreds of pounds each. Why were they so small? Logic suggests it was a trade-off. Evolution spent all its budget on the head. A T-Rex's skull was a massive, heavy structure designed to withstand incredible forces. To balance that weight at the front, the arms had to shrink, or the animal would have tipped over like a poorly designed seesaw. They were tiny, yes, but they weren't useless. They might have been used to hook onto prey during a struggle or to help the animal push itself up off the ground after a nap. Beyond the muscle, the T-Rex was surprisingly smart for a giant reptile. Its brain was twice the size of most other giant predators. Its olfactory bulbs, the part of the brain that processes smell, were massive. A T-Rex could probably smell a carcass from miles away, making it the ultimate scavenger-hunter hybrid. Its vision was also elite. Unlike many other dinosaurs whose eyes were on the sides of their heads, T-Rex had forward-facing eyes, giving it binocular vision and depth perception better than a modern hawk. If you were standing still in the jungle, the T-Rex could definitely see you. The Jurassic Park don't move rule would have resulted in you being a very easy-to-hit appetizer. The reign of the king was undisputed, but it was also short. The T-Rex lived hard and died young. You have never found a T-Rex specimen older than about 30 years. By the time they reached their late 20s, their bodies were riddled with arthritis, gout, and the scars of 1,000 battles. Their skeletons tell stories of broken ribs, infected jaws, and massive trauma. They were the ultimate prize fighters of the Cretaceous. But even the best fighter eventually meets a force they can't beat. For the T-Rex, that force came from the sky. 66 million years ago, 6-mile-wide asteroid slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula with the force of 1 billion Hiroshima bombs. The T-Rex didn't die from the impact. It died from the aftermath. The dust blocked the sun, the plants died, the herbivores starved, and the king, who required massive amounts of calories just to wake up in the morning, found the buffet line empty. But did they really vanish? Not quite. In a twist that would make Darwin proud, the lineage of the theropod dinosaurs lived on. While the giant, bone-crushing T-Rex was wiped out, its smaller, bird-like cousins survived the fire and the frost. Today, when you look at a chicken or an ostrich, you are looking at the refined, downsized version of the king. They share the same hollow bones, the same respiratory system, and the same fierce attitude. The T-Rex didn't just become a fossil, it became the birds in your backyard. So, the next time a pigeon looks at you with that weird, calculating stare, just remember, it's not just a bird. It's a survivor of a royal bloodline that once shook the very foundations of the earth. To understand the T-Rex is to understand the balance of nature. It wasn't a monster. It was a success story. It was a creature that managed to turn a tiny, fluffy hatchling into a 9-ton king through sheer biological willpower and a lot of calories. It survived a world of giants, evolved the most terrifying weapons in history, and only left the stage because the sky literally fell on its head. Its weight was a testament to the richness of the Cretaceous world, and its extinction is a reminder of how fragile life can be. We study the T-Rex not because it was scary, because it represents the peak of what evolution can achieve when it decides to build a predator. It was the perfect machine, born in a nest, raised in a sprint, and ended in a firestorm. Long live the king.